Well, Nigel, you said on Saturday there were plenty of positives, which I think are maybe hard for the players to accept 5 minutes after the game. But have those positives kind of reeked into the players this week as you prepare for a big home game with Sunderland?
Yeah, I mean, we just have to reflect on the game in general to say, did we play well? I think yes is the answer to that. Did we have some poor decisions against us? Absolutely yes, but you can't do anything about that now. So the best thing to do is just to try and refocus and make sure that we get our first home win this weekend. I mean, that's the big thing. It's an occasion that people are looking forward to. It's a first home game. Be a really good crowd. So we've got to make sure we perform.
Forgive me if you've been asked this question before. Would you like VAR in the Championship?
Yes. I think VAR puts the officials in a position where, well, there's two things. It should help them and it makes them more accountable. But I also think what we should adopt in football, which for some unknown reason the powers that be will not go down that route, is to do what they do in rugby, and that is to mic them up so we can hear what's being said. So we know so it's all transparent. There's nothing to hide. So technology should be there to help the officials. I think it would be better for the game if there was transparency as to what the process is when decisions are made. But I mean, I don't know why they don't do that. Maybe they're afraid.
Do you think we will see, is it a question of when we get it in the Championship rather than if, or are there still a few hurdles to overcome?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've heard the argument about the fact that some grounds aren't set up for it. Well, I think rugby league, when you look at the standard of a lot of the stadiums in, say, the Championship, I don't know whether that's an argument which is valid, to be honest with you. I think that we can have a system which helps the officials to come to a decision. But like I say, they shouldn't have anything to hide. So I think we should be able to hear what they're saying, so that at least then we all know in the stadium what the reasons are.
How's the team looking for Saturday? Any team news, any injuries to report, or is it pretty much the same squad you had available last weekend?
No, it'll be very similar, yeah, very similar.
Tommy Conway came off the bench last weekend. I think after just 4 appearances last year, how different is Tommy Conway now to maybe the Tommy Conway from 12 months ago? How much has he developed?
Well, we'll have to wait and see over a sustained period, but he's fitter, stronger. I think he has quite a lot to offer, and so I'm looking forward to him having greater involvement this season.
Like last season, your first home games against a newly promoted side. What do you make of Sunderland? They drew with Coventry last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the game. It's a bit of a scrappy game. They'd be disappointed not to hold on for a win, but overall, I think Coventry certainly in the second half did enough to get something out of the game. So I don't know what bearing that has on our game. I'm really thinking about how we get our players to get the performance right. The teams that get promoted from Division 1 have the added sort of buoyancy of confidence, and so I would expect it to be a tough game. I know Alex has had some success as well in terms of promotions and setting up sides that are difficult to play against. So I don't expect it to be an easy game, let's put it like that.
I think some of your new players got a little taste of what it's like to be at Ashton Gate when you did that training session in front of the fans this week. But 25,000, hopefully more fans on Saturday. It should be a good atmosphere, and that could play a big part in helping you over the line maybe on Saturday.
Well, I hope so, but you know, players have to be able to just be able to perform, whether it's in front of nobody or whether it's in front of a full house with lots of emotion and noise. Players need to, or the best players know how to play in front of any or in any environment. So, but yeah, for our new lads, I think it should be a good, hopefully a very good experience for them. I think it was helpful for us to be at the stadium this week to train. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And in the Premier League, with the transfer window open, there seems to be a lot of transfer activity. I think the Championship in general remains quiet. Do you expect it to remain that way between now and the end of the month, with a particular focus on City? Do you expect any more incomings or outgoings, or is it a question of watch this space?
You've answered your own question. I wasn't going to say that, but it will depend on a number of factors. I think I've already pointed out a few times that we, you know, we've not been in a position to necessarily go out and spend money. We might have to trade, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not sort of categorically saying yes or no. We just have to wait and see how things develop over the remaining weeks.
Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Thank
Okay,
you.
cheers, Rick.
You say you might have to trade. Is that something you're considering now, or is it something that's in the decision?
I've been considering it. It's never not been a consideration, because I have an understanding of where we are. So it's you know, we've already had moments where discussions have been made as to how we approach a certain situation. I'm not going to elaborate on individual circumstances, but yeah, I mean, those are, if you like, the circumstances and criteria with which we are working within, and so what remains at the forefront of my mind is to try and still build a side, but do it in a way which is the right way for us as a football club at the moment. You know, that's not to say it's always going to be like that, but clearly it's the last 2-3 years have been quite tough for the business, for the industry in general, and you know, how we've approached it in the past has impacted how we approach it now, but that's just the way it is. It's I think there's a few Premier League clubs who are finding finding the waters are a bit choppy at the moment, and that's the reality of where the industry's at. And I think it's important that I, as a manager, respect where we are as a club, and also work within the parameters. I agreed to be here and work within those parameters, so I'm certainly not going to hear any moaning, but you know, it can be a frustration at times, but what we have to do is remain focused on doing everything we can to avoid injuries so that we can operate with a smallish squad. But I don't want to make it sound as though the club are being very supportive, and we're working really hard to try and find solutions to this. So rather than pour water on it, I'll just say that, look, be patient and we'll see where it takes us. Hopefully we'll do some business, but I can't promise it.
Because the concept of trading obviously needs something to happen from the other side, in the sense that has that been influenced?
Yeah, potentially. Has
that been influenced by something that's happened? I mean, I'll come out, but has a club made an inquiry that's made you think,
we've had bids for players that have been unsuccessful. So it's not that we've not attempted to sign players, but you know my stance on that. I don't speculate on, and I don't talk about other people's players out of respect, because I wouldn't expect people to talk about our players, but they do. but we've had bids in for players, and we've either not been successful or it's just not worked out. But I don't see any reason to get involved in making that known to the public, in the sense that I think, yeah, it might be reassuring for our fans to know that we are at least looking to do that. But I don't also want to get into this, into a sort of spin doctor effect. I don't want all that crap, because it's nonsense. So I think our policy remains that we'll try and be as upfront and honest as we can without giving you some bull.
That's bids going out, and I was also thinking bids in.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, there've been some inquiries, but it's quite a big leap from inquiries to bids, and but there have been some inquiries that I'm aware of. But you know, I'm not a control freak. I don't need to know every move that's being made. But you know, Richard always updates me on what's happening, and so I'm not worried about that.
How does that sort of thing translate back to the squad? Do they? Because I'm sure individuals are aware of things as well.
Oh, I'm always very open with the players. So you know, if there is an inquiry, they're going to find out, because there's mischievous people out in the world, you know, without going into details, but they're going to find out from somebody. So I'd rather tell them exactly where we are as a club and what I'm thinking as a manager, because I think that's the best way to go about it.
Just on team news, how's Zak doing? He wasn't.
Yeah, he's trained today, and he did some of the training yesterday. He's lost a bit of weight through being ill, but he seems much better in himself. So he will be. I would imagine. I've not spoken to him after training today, but I would imagine that he's in contention.
Tomas looked in good shape, just from observing from afar.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah.
I was quite surprised to see how much he was putting it in, given his sort of lack of pre-season.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to set a timescale, but what is the sort of pathway to getting him back into first team contention or action?
Well, when he's fit enough, or whether the pain is manageable, and so looks, I suppose, can be deceptive. But yeah, I agree with you. He was at full tilt, but he's the type of player that needs to know himself whether he's okay. And so watching the training session is one thing, but then how he reacts to that is another thing. So we, you know, at the moment, he's not going to be in contention. And I think what's important is that we take a longer view at this. You know, he's a player who has played through quite a bit of discomfort for a time. Yeah, he's frustrated with the situation. But when there's an update, I'll let you know.
Could you just clear up his injury? Because he had the surgery in last season. He did some commentary during pre-season.
Yeah.
Kind of indicated he might have picked up a second problem over the course of the summer.
Well, he hasn't picked up something new. It's a knee issue, which is, yeah, it's just it's a bit of an old war horse these days, I suppose. And but you're gonna get sort of wear and tear injuries if you play the game like he does it. And unfortunately, in the modern game, of course, it's a bit different to previous eras, where actually sometimes you can get away with playing with certain discomfort. They're more athletic now. Players generally are a lot fitter, more athletic. The game's different. So he's had a back-to-back seasons now of international football, league football, and it takes its toll.
You mentioned last night on the in-house interview that Antoine's making progress.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
What could you expand on what sort of progress?
Elaborate on that.
And also in terms of him and Thomas, I guess.
Yeah.
Could they effectively come into a matchday squad having not played any kind of football?
My answer to that would be preferably not, especially at the start of the season. I mean, if it was towards the end and we were pushing to get promotion or avoid relegation or whatever, if there is an end point which means there is it could be a risk worth taking, but not really. And when you look at somebody like Antoine, who I think what is sensible, especially with the type of injury he's had, his loading. So in other words, the amount of training and the stresses that we put him under needs to be built up. So it would be pretty stupid and unprofessional to just bung him straight in, even though he thinks he's all right to play. And I think I'd rather have that as a situation where we're having to rein players in. But he is making good progress, and we are all hopeful that he'll be with us sooner rather than later. But I'm not going to give you a date, time frame.
Last one from me.
Yeah.
Right wing back, very interesting.
Yeah.
You've got a bit of a dilemma this week.
Yeah, nice to have, isn't it?
Yeah. So what's going? Because it would be fair to assume that if Kane had been ready, he probably would have started at Hull. Is that fair to assume?
Possibly. I would use possibly rather than probably.
Possibly. He's obviously. I assume Kane's looking good.
Yeah.
Good nick on Tuesday again. And Mark obviously had a very good debut. What's kind of your feeling in terms of?
That you're right with your assumption that there is a rather nice sort of quandary. And on top of that, George has had a very, very good pre-season and looks in better all-round shape. So it's nice problems to have. So I don't worry too much about that. You'll find out after the players find out. I suppose is the answer on match day. But it's nice to have those options, definitely, because I think it's a game in which we'll need to really push them throughout the entirety of the game. So whoever starts, we've got somebody who's chomping at the bit to get on as well.
What will be the decision-making process?
I'll talk to my staff about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Nigel. Obviously, on Saturday it's going to be a big crowd, potentially the biggest crowd you've had since taking over. Does that show that supporters are on board with what you're trying to achieve here?
I don't know. You better ask them about that. I think I think there's more optimism. Hopefully there is a positive feeling that we are trying to move in the right direction. It's just good to be able to look forward to a home game where there is going to be a good crowd, but we've got to deliver for them. I'm never somebody who expects the punters to get us going. We've got to show some intent and make sure that they believe in what we're trying to do. So I think if you look at the second half of last season and we played some good football, we played some really good attacking football, and I think that is, I want to continue that, but I also want to make sure that we're a bit more difficult to beat. So I don't, so last week makes it difficult to sort of evaluate that, because the second goal's a deflection and the first goal's, yeah, exactly.
The supporters have something called flag day, so it could be a sea of red and white on Saturday. Does that,
good.
Will that help impact the game at all?
Yeah, well, look, it's not going to hinder us. You know, it's always really important that your fan base, however big or small it is, backs the team, and that's really what it's about. We're always very thankful that our fans show patience with us, but you know, for them to show patience, they have to believe in what we're trying to do. So, we intend to have a very positive season, but we've got to go out there and do it.
And then just lastly, as someone who's a big supporter of the women's team here,
Yeah.
as well, big on Sunday that England won, what will that do for the women's game, and how much are you looking forward to Don Smith's start her season with Bristol?
I mean, look, I see them every day, and you know, our girls did fantastically well last year in terms of how they developed as an operation, if you like, and their team spirit and their desire to succeed is very, very evident, and so, you know, in terms of speaking about our own women's team, they're excellent, and they are you know, a very positive group of people. In terms of what happened with England last weekend, with the girls winning the Europeans, I think I don't think at the moment we know quite what that will do or what the effect is, but it's people's perceptions have definitely changed, and I think that's really positive for sport for everybody in this country. So yeah, it was brilliant. I enjoyed watching it myself and watched every game.